SNX Radio invites you to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos with us as we dive into UFOs, cryptids, and everything otherworldly. As we navigate the night, we investigate the unknowns that spark our curiosity and challenge our understanding of reality.
UFO.
Hello, and I am Coley Weber from SNX Radio, and we are over here on Channel 12 TV Network. Tonight, I am glad to be here and introduce actually Season 1, Episode 1. So this is the first episode that's going to be on, and very excited for my guest to be here. So before that, I just want to say, stop. You don't need to scroll any further. You definitely found the show that's for you. Give it a try and see if you like it. So again, this is Beyond Truth Disclosure. And that's an original to Channel 12 Network. So tonight we have with us is Dave Spinks, and he is a 30-year veteran of the paranormal. He's done an amazing things. And without further ado, I'm going to bring him out here and let him tell you more about himself. So let us welcome Dave to the stage. Dave, welcome. It's so weird not being in front of a live audience, so we're kind of, giving this a go. But yeah, welcome again over here to Channel 12 TV Network, Beyond Truth Disclosure. You're my first guest over here on the series, so
cool.
Exciting, yes.
Well, thanks for having me, Coley. I appreciate it. And, I love talking about this stuff. I can talk your head off for hours and hours, and that's what it's all about, right? Sharing stories, experiences, and learning.
I hear your passion, and we had just did an episode prior to this, so that we had aired live, and so much had come out of it. And so you have such a great grounded take to all of this, and you're very much attached to it because you have experienced so much of it yourself. Why don't you tell, and you kind of get started, like what brought you to where you are today?
Oh, well, my name's Dave Spinks, as you said, and I've been investigating and researching all aspects of the paranormal to include hauntings, cryptids, and UFOs for nearly 40 years now, well over 35 years, pushing 40. I mean, I kind of lost count after all these years, but it's right around that area. Done some of the most crazy things, seen some of the most crazy things you can imagine. I'm also an Air Force veteran of over 8.5 years. I grew up on Air Force bases. I've seen many crazy things in the skies. But really what started me in this, I'm also a retired federal law enforcement officer. So I bring that background as a trained observer and law enforcement background to the paranormal, and I was investigating all throughout my active working life too. But I didn't go really public with anything until after I retired from law enforcement because, you kind of get ridiculed if you're in certain career fields. What are you doing messing with that stuff? Send you to the head shrinker type of thing. So, but now, it's much more mainstream. It's widely accepted. You have many more law enforcement folks, military folks coming out, sharing their stories, sharing their experiences, and it's really gained a lot of ground. We kind of had a little bit of a conversation about the world of the paranormal TV world, and folks can go and check out that episode that we just did earlier. But I've written numerous books with more coming out based off my experiences and investigations over the years. And what really started me in this, believe it or not, is I had a Bigfoot experience in West Virginia with my grandpa while we were on one of our usual fishing trips. And I was 13, and we had a very profound experience that changed my life. And he was a preacher, World War II veteran. Also, he was a preacher after the war for 40 years. And, he was a medic in World War II, and he was in the second wave that stormed the beaches at Normandy. So you can imagine as a medic what he saw. The man was not scared of anything,
Wow. My grandpa was 1st Division Marine Corps, World War II, and they don't make them like that anymore, let me tell you.
Yeah, they're just a different breed, a different breed of people, and they're all true heroes in my book,
Yes.
Every one of them, and different type of warfare, different type, just a whole different breed of folks, So long story short, we had this crazy experience. It changed my life. He wouldn't talk about it because from his point of view, being a preacher, it was a demon dam, because it was, something none of us had ever seen. Terrified me. This thing threw giant rocks at us from across the river. He shot at it with our 20 gauge shotgun that we kept for snakes when we were on the river because it was pretty snaky, and he ran to the tent, shot at it. And then we basically left everything we brought and boogied out of there. And my uncle went back a few days later and gathered up all of our gear. And we kind of made a promise that we wouldn't talk about it because him being a preacher, he didn't want to think his parishioners to think that he was drinking, doing drugs, because of that stigmatism. If you have some crazy experience,
So
you must
true.
be Looney Tune, and that in those days, and that was 1983. So And even in those days, you were looked upon as being a wackadoodle, and
That is so
that,
true. I was born in 79. Now, growing up, when I started, really, it was like 6, 7 years old. My mom was going to call a priest to have an exorcist done because I could see spirits. So I get that. During that era,
yeah,
that is exactly
yeah,
what happened.
yeah,
Definitely.
because it wasn't wide mainstream like it is today. It's so, and it's, like I said earlier in the other show, it's a double-edged sword, right? It's really good that we're more open and talking about this type of stuff, but it's also Hollywood has taken advantage of it and just twisted it and mucked it all up. And then the real history and mystery of it all that we all grew up on and has having real experiences, it's really just muddied the waters up terribly, in my point of view, in my humble opinion. But having that experience set me on a course, sent me down the rabbit hole. And oddly enough, I had an experience with my other grandpa, who was also a World War II veteran, and he had lost most of his lungs in the war as far as emphysema, and he smoked like a freight train, old Camel filterless cigarettes, and it got to the point where they had to put a stoma in, and he would smoke through the stoma hole. And I was like, man, Papa, what are you still smoking for? You got to die sometime, boy. Old, like we said, different breed of guys, man. They didn't care.
They're tough as nails, too. I can
Yeah.
see that. Yeah.
So long story short on that, I'm at my dad's house, 30 miles away from his house. And this is my mom's dad I'm talking about now. My dad's dad is the one I had the Bigfoot experience with. My mom and dad were divorced when I was a little guy, so there's no reason my mom's dad would be at my dad's house around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So I sat straight up in bed. I had this weird dream, and there he was at the foot of my bed. And I'm doing this, going, whoa, Papa, what are you doing here? And he didn't say anything, but I noticed he looked really good, and he smiled at me, and he didn't have the stoma. And then, poof, he just dissipated right in front of me. And I'm like, man, that was a wild dream. So I went back to sleep. Well, next morning I woke up and that was on my mind. So I said, I better call up there and check on him. Well, my uncle from out of state answered the phone. I said, what are you doing there? He said, no one called you yet. I said, what are you talking about? Your papa died last night.
Oh,
So I kind of just
wow.
dropped the phone and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that
Yeah.
him coming to see me before he went to where he was going? I didn't know what to think of it. So I kind of just wrote it off as a crazy dream, right? So several months later, we're all up at my grandma's visiting her. A bunch of us, not everybody in the family, but a bunch of us went up to visit her. We're all having dinner and, spending time with her. And I had that little voice in my head going, tell them about the dream. Tell them about the dream. And I'm like thinking, no, they're going to think I'm nuts. Well, I finally just came out with, I said, and it was like that old E.F. Hunt commercial. Everybody's talking. And then I said, hey, guys, I had this crazy dream and like grandpa died. And they all shut up and it's like, whew, they're all looking at me. And I said, I saw them at the foot of my bed, and this is what happened. And I noticed their faces, some of them, not everybody, but some of their faces were turning white. And they're like, I had the same dream. I had the same dream. I had the same dream. And I was like,
No
whoa.
way.
And then
Wow.
I came to the realization, holy crap, he did come to say goodbye or let us know he's going to be okay. And it took all that for me to realize. So that sent me further down the rabbit hole in this whole paranormal
So if you
scheme of
hadn't
things.
said anything, do you think any of the rest of them would know? I mean, that's wow.
It was several months
Wow.
later, it wasn't right away. Nobody talked about it at the
Oh,
funeral, nothing.
wow. Wow.
So it
Yeah,
was
you're
like what?
right.
Just one of the
I think you cut out for just a second. I can take that part, edit that part out. Are you able to hear? Oh, it's showing. It says that
about now.
you're mute. Okay, now I can hear. Yeah, I
Okay.
can edit that part out.
Yeah,
Don't worry about
okay. It showed up mute on my screen or whatever.
it.
I
It
didn't
does
do
this every once in a while. Yeah, they're crazy, but I can. That's easy enough to edit this part out.
So
So
that's
yeah.
what happened with that, and that kind of just sent me further down the rabbit hole. And then over time, through my working life in the military and stuff, my friends knew I was delving into this stuff pretty deep. And lo and behold, they would get it. One of their friends would have something going on at their house, and they say, "Hey, I know a guy that does that." And then it's kind of how it all started for me. And since that time, I've written numerous books. I've gotten 9 books out. A couple of them are kind of fun, different things for me, healing wise. And I did a fun cryptid cookbook because there's nothing else like it out there. It's called Cooking with Cryptids. You all should check it out. And then right now I'm dropping my first paranormal poetry series, and it's called Paranormal Poems and Ominous Odes by me. And there's 3 volumes. The first one's already out. You can see it on Amazon, and the second 2 are dropping real soon in the next several months. So, but my recent book is called Beyond Mothman, and we talked about, we wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Yes.
With that
And
book,
can they all, if the links that I have, if everybody looks up on their TV screen, you're going to see Dave Spinks pi.com. Can all of that be found, or is there, like, is it best to go to Amazon, or where they're looking to buy your books or your projects?
Either one. With Amazon, you just won't get them signed. If you order them directly from me, if you email me on my website, I will mail you, and you'll PayPal me, and then I'll mail you a copy of the book signed to you.
Very cool. Very
just
cool.
all in what you want. But,
very cool.
So that book just came out. It's not been out an entire year yet. And they do carry all my books at the Mothman Museum and the Flatwoods Monster Museum and everything else. But if you're ever in those areas, you can see some of my books. If they're not sold out, they usually sell out pretty quick. So the Mothman, Beyond Mothman, that book is about my 20 plus years of investigating in and around the Point Pleasant area. Because let me tell you something, that place, I call it like the Skinwalker Ranch of the East Coast. It has everything, and it's in West Virginia if you don't know about it. And I'm sure all your listeners have probably heard of the Mothman at some point or another, in some way or another. But that place has just got it all. I've experienced mutilated animal carcasses, deer and stuff, just like you hear about the cattle mutilations in UFO lore. I've found my own out there, and there's pictures of that in that book. Experience. There's UFOs at the wazoo up there, sighting still is to this day. There's numerous hauntings I've investigated up there. There's black magic type witchcraft going on in and around the bunker area where the Mothman was sighting. It's still going on to this day. And there's a lizard man right there on the Ohio River, because Point Pleasant is like, there's 2 major rivers. You got the Ohio River and then the Kanawha River from West Virginia that meet right there, and the point's right there. There's been numerous battles there, and we know there's a lot of hauntings and other things associated with that area. And there's also, there has been giant Native American skulls and bones found in and around that whole area too. So Native American mounds, we've all heard about the giant skeletons with double rows of teeth. That's there. You've got literally the whole plethora. So I spent over 25 years in and around Point Pleasant investigating all these things. And that's what that whole book entails.
What do you think you concluded upon? Do you think Mothman is there? Do you think he's not there? Or do you think it's a fabrication?
Well, with the whole Mothman legend and everything, some people think it's an interdimensional or extra-dimensional being. Some people think it's a harbinger of doom. So when it shows up, because this creature's been seen all around the world, and it's always before a major disaster. And we did have the United States' biggest bridge disaster there right after the Mothman sighting that went on for a year, and then the bridge collapsed, killed 46 people. They fell into the river, and 46 people died. Wow. So some people think it's one of those type of bad omens, or he's coming to warn people, whether he's an ET, interdimensional, extra-dimensional, we don't know. Many people that had encounters with the Mothman during that year's time frame from 66 to 67, some people experienced physical symptoms of eyes burning, all kind of crazy stuff. And we do also know that there's huge government clandestine things that went on there during World War II with the TNT bunkers and everything else. So it's just one of those places that literally has it all. And there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. That's why I call it, I liken it to the Skinwalker Ranch of the East Coast, and there's several other places around the world like that too, like Bridgewater Triangle and many more. So, when I got home from the military, when I finally got out of the military in 2001, I spent 20 plus, almost 25 years in and around investigating all that area. And I investigated hauntings, cryptids, and there's even a lizard man on the Ohio River that's been being sighted since the early 1900s there. So there's all this Native American lore there that's associated with all these, and we know natives are they always seem to find those areas of high energy, and there was many battles fought there. So it's got the whole gamut. So really, really cool place. If you've never been to the Mothman Festival, I highly, highly recommend it. I'm up there every year. I have a booth there. I speak. We usually rotate. I speak every other year or so. But you can see me there too.
Will that be on your website when that comes up?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, so keep checking that website out.
I just spoke last year. I just spoke there last year, so this year I probably won't be speaking, but I will have my booth.
But he can hang out though. Sometimes that's better.
Come out, say hi, get some selfies, get some merch.
Yeah. Heck yeah, that's what I'm all about. So, what do you think? Like, I have this is odd, and people I've had a couple different takes on it. Have you ever heard of a cryptid that clicks? That like almost like clicks its tongue to it. That's what it sounds like, a clicking noise.
Where are you hearing this one about? Like what area?
Well, yeah. Okay. So I've had how this all happened is I moved to a downstairs location. When I did that, all of a sudden they woke up in the middle of the night, my dresser out on the ground. I mean, every drawer. The only thing that stood was the frame. Everything that was on top of it, everything was down. Off. I was doing a recording with Jessica Jones, and all of a sudden something flew behind me. And this is all in the same week. And then I'm laying in bed, and it's always right around this 1:30 marker, and it's in the Midwest in the Iowa area. And I heard this clicking like a outside the window, and then it accompanied by the smell. Like it's just horrible, wretched, but it didn't last long in the air. It would breeze, kind of like it, not that breeze. Like if you took something rotting, then feces and vomit all together, and that's probably.
And this is in an inside location, and you're having poltergeist activity too. Sounds more like a possible ET type of situation than cryptid to me. But
Okay, so I've had ET experiences, but this it's only in like a corner, like, and it doesn't seem like it can go very much past like a threshold. So the dresser would have been up against the wall. Anything that's flown was as on the wall, and it's all in this area that it's like behind me, like that it kind of does an L, but it would have been out to the side that it was. I mean, it was definitely there was a clicking noise.
Well, a lot of cases I've investigated and interviewed people that talk about the clicking sound.
Yeah.
Seems to relate more to the ET side. And I've never heard a cryptid, people reporting a cryptid clicking sound, but that doesn't mean it's not a cryptid. You know what I mean? It could be. That's why I'm talking about you got to think outside the box with this stuff because we don't know what none of this is. I've investigated cases of a haunting. People, just as you said, are experiencing poltergeist activity and there's stuff flying across the room and whatnot. And mostly sound stuff, right? And then I get there and they're saying, well, I'm also having these dreams and I'm floating up through my ceiling and there's these little gray men in my room. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that the first time? Because they don't, they're not putting it together, So a lot of these things, can cross over. It's not just, see, when I first started doing this, you couldn't be a Bigfoot guy and a UFO guy, or you couldn't be a haunting guy and a UFO guy, or vice versa. They would oust you out of both communities because they,
That's so true. Yeah.
People would be like, well, you can't do both. I said, why not? It crosses over, it correlates. That doesn't make sense as an investigator.
Almost by design, you would swear. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know. Saying ET could implant things in your mind to think you're experiencing a haunting. And it could be an ET situation, or make you hallucinate. You don't know. So, you can't pin it down specifically to one thing in a lot of cases, So you just have to think outside the box a lot.
Well, I've heard sulfur smells with like when you're dealing with like poltergeist activity. Do you ever get like, and the reason I guess the clicking and then the smell is usually with the cryptids. Like I've gotten close to Bigfoot. I haven't had a class A sighting,
there's sulfur smells and hauntings too, demonic entity type situation, feces,
That.
urine, that could go either way. See what I'm saying? So you
Mhm.
have to really delve more deeper into it to say, okay, what's going on here? So, that's the only advice I
Is
could
it
give you on
strange
that.
that it only goes so far? Like, it doesn't come in
Yeah.
unless maybe somebody's
Yep.
done some sort of clearing before, but it's very isolated to where it can go, which is
Sure.
interesting.
That's kind of bizarre, but each one is different. It's like I try to give people examples. Like take Bobby Mackey's, for instance. I investigated that place numerous times. First time I ever went there, got hardly nothing. Next time I went there, it was off the chain. Next time I went there, nothing again. Next time, off the chain again. So you can't pin this stuff down, and it doesn't matter if you go there once and get nothing. Doesn't mean it's not haunted or not experiencing activity. It just so happens, for whatever reason, it wasn't going on at that particular time. And I'm a firm believer. I'm kind of known for spending vast amounts of time in these locations. I don't just go for one night. I've spent months in some of these locations,
You
like the
have
Wicked.
to. You have to.
Yeah, well, it's common sense. The more time you spend in a place, the odds are, the more chances you're going to have the same experience that family's experiencing, or whatever the case.
Don't you think you
It's
build
very
a
hard to go.
rapport? Somewhat. This is the way I feel. Like there's one that's really close. Is haunted. It's one of the most haunted mansions in the America, and I've stayed there probably 10, 12 times. And every time I've gone there, but now like, I have a routine when I go there. And if I go to one room at a certain time, it never fails. That like I know, it's like I feel like we've kind of built some sort of weird rapport.
Mhm.
If that even makes any
And
sense.
that can be known as what? A residual haunting, right? Not necessarily intelligent, but if it happens the same
Oh,
time every
true,
time,
true.
odds
Yeah.
are that it's a residual, right? Not necessarily, but odds are it may be a residual type haunting. So, it's like I said, think outside the box. There's no way to do the same thing over and over, and know exactly what this thing is that you're communicating with or you're having experiences with.
Yeah. Oh, the window guy? Yeah. I don't like it because it's creepy watching. Usually, because I can see. So I grew up seeing spirits, but when I got something that's
Mhm.
like I would describe it as a watcher. And then
Yeah, if you can interact with it and interacts back, then it's what? It's intelligent too. So,
see,
and
I try not to, but I mean, it's hard not to respond when the dresser, if 5 drawers is all out at it's like 1:30 in the morning and you just hear this and it
yeah,
like the noise was enough. I shot up out of bed. I was looking for my cell phone and I hit and I was like, "What?
yeah,
What?"
it's pretty intense.
Every dresser drawer is on the ground. Like it took me a minute and I was like sitting here and I was like, "Man," and it was early in the morning and I was sending my buddy. I said, "You got to see this." And he's like, "What is that?" Is what I woke up to. I heard a crash. It was all out. The
Mhm.
only thing that is still standing is the frame. Even the stuff that was on top of there, all on the ground.
That's pretty intense, when something's that powerful, it can manipulate objects and move things in a home or place of business, wherever the case may be. But it takes a lot of juice to do that.
Oh yeah, it does. I had a haunted. I was kind of briefly told you about this in the last show. It was a voltmeter, and my buddy brought it. He's like Colin, the aerospace engineer, and he's like, this thing about lit my house on fire. He said it tampers with electricity. He said it's haunted. It's haunted. And I was like, oh, that's thinking that's cool. This is in the younger years. Let's just put it that way. And let me tell you, that thing scared me so bad. And the more it would set off things in the middle of the night. It was getting to the point where I was there and I was like, I had my hand trapped in an electric thing, my car. And I swear to God, that thing was behind it. It was pushing forward and it was trying to crush my wrist. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. My buddy said, go and throw it in a fire. I said, I don't know if it will get there. But I took some holy water and I took a crucifix and I sprayed that sucker the lid. And
Hmm.
that crucifix busts in two and there's like this black
Mm.
stopper and spun around it and then the lid busted off and it was done. It was done. That was it.
Holy cow! Well, I didn't like that. That's a something you could take as possibly very demonic or negative in nature, if it did that, reacted to holy water and a crucifix like that. So, those are the type of things you got to try, like we talked about earlier, and see whatever works,
Can I ask you a question though? What do you think after, and this is where it gets a bit even weirder. What do you think happened to whatever that thing was? Because it was my buddy where Annabelle was at one time. I guess my right, and they own that now. They were my buddy knows well enough. He's going to take this voltmeter down and give it to them. The Warrens, was it our son-in-law, to put in the museum, and so it broke beforehand. But that's exactly how serious this thing was. But where did it go? Because then I have this family member, right, and I swear this family member just all of a sudden developed this weird hatred. And when I mean hatred, I mean this is weird. And then I catch them, the sound machines you buy, but this one sounds just like an EVP white noise is blaring the sound machine. And I was like, and it happened where I sprayed it, happened in this house. Do you possibly think, and it sounds as crazy as it sounds, but this is not like a couple times when I've been past this house, one time my brakes locked up. The other time the car started and it was in the off. It was not in the turned on the ignition or anything like that. Do you think that something like that could jump?
Oh yeah. I mean, when you do this type of stuff and you're in haunted locations, even your equipment can get an attachment. You can get an attachment. You can have what we call a hitchhiker. They can get on. If the family member, were they doing that type of stuff too, investigating and whatnot?
No, so, but they're a drinker. We found out.
That lower, if they're a drinker, then they could they lower their self protection, right? And if there is something in the house that maybe you hitchhiked on a piece of equipment or with you, could jump to them because their protection, so to speak, is lowered. Their vibration, as Jen calls it, allows that to jump in your body and take you for a ride, so to speak, right? So, it can happen anywhere at any time, and there's not necessarily no reason or rhyme, but if that's the whole scenario, it definitely can happen.
So what would you say, what would you next course of action be with something like that? Because this person, I mean, has even so much as called, and my son, like any other child, I think, in the world, has gone out and bought a Ouija board. And then out of nowhere, right? I took the Ouija board from him. I put it happened to be at this family member's house. I put it away. I put it in the thing. Well, I get a call, and this is not even, I can't even remember, months later. And she said, I told you not to bring the Ouija board into this house. And I was like, what?
Yeah, that's
you don't even talk like that. And it was on the phone. Yeah, I was like, what is going on here? And it was just like that. I'll never forget it. I still get chills. And I was like, why would you even remember something like that? It had nothing to do with you. I took it away from him right away. And I placed it in the thing. Kids do that. But what are you talking to me in a sing-song voice for? I was like, whoa, something not right here.
Well, Ouija boards in particular are something that I always talk about because people ask me questions, and it's just opinion based. I don't have all the facts, but and one time I went back and all these negative haunting cases I've investigated, and I did the numbers, and I said, okay, how many of these cases was there a Ouija board involved in the family? Somebody in the family used it, whatever. And over 95% of those cases, a Ouija board had been used. So when people are using Ouija boards, they really don't know what they're doing. It's a tool. Some people use them and never have problems. I don't recommend them because you're opening doorways. You're letting anything and everything come in. You don't know what's coming in, and that's a recipe for disaster in my humble opinion of 35 plus years of doing this stuff. So, to each their own. I do not recommend it. I tell, especially kids are more open than all of us, and that's a big, big risk, that they're taking by playing with one of those. Same with that Charlie game that was out a few years ago. And, whenever you're doing that and you're allowing a spirit to come through your body, manipulate your body, your energy to move that planchette, it's not a good recipe. and you're conjuring too, like Charlie or even Bloody Mary is a conjuring game.
I was
You're
going to
actually
say, yes.
conjuring a spirit. It's not saying that something bad's going to happen every time, but why take the risk? It's like playing Russian roulette, right?
Yeah, you're summoning it. Yeah, you definitely are conjuring it. There's no doubt about
if that happens, then you have to go through this whole gambit of cleansing and everything else, and it's just a nightmare.
Yeah. People don't realize it. Like, I have a buddy, and his name's Jeremy, and I'll leave it at that, his first name. He was in New York, and when he was a kid, him and the neighbor was getting into some of this, like, and they're in high school, of Ouija boards and talking to dead people and yada, yada, yada. And then he said the day he got a phone call, and his friend's on the phone. And then from that point, they had planned, and he said it wasn't like he was in control. They planned to bomb and blow up the school. We can say this is on a network. Yeah. So he said he goes in, the kid doesn't show up. He's half in this like trance. He felt like whatever it was, the kid picked up the phone and said to him, he knew. And he said that this girl happened that he knew was like, he's walking down the halls. He's got enough, like, however they built these bombs and the thing, and then he's going to blow up the school. And he said this girl steps in the way, and she's like, Jeremy, you don't look right. What's going on? Come sit and talk to me. And he's like, he was going to, push forward, still couldn't kind of snap out of it. And then she's like, Jeremy, what are you doing? And finally it was enough to slow him down. And he handed her over the book bag. He did 10 years. And he said to this day, he will never go back to New York. And he calls her every single year to thank her for stopping that, because he doesn't know what was in control. He said it was not him.
Sounds like he definitely had a attachment or a possession of some sort. And, that happened. Like I said, we talked about it earlier. It can happen anytime, any place, anywhere. So for whatever reason, we don't know, but it does happen.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, definitely. And it's a little bit.
We talk about a lot of people that are diagnosed with mental health issues. Sometimes it's not necessarily mental health. It's actually an attachment or a possession. Wow. When you drink, use drugs, whatever, it lowers your defenses and then allows things to jump in and take you for a ride.
Yeah. The lights are on and nobody's home.
I've known good guys and good people that would have never done some of the stuff they had, but they were drinking, and then it's not called spirits and wine for nothing. Spirits, get it? I mean, that's, people do some crazy stuff. So,
college years, it is. And you think some people grow past it, but, I guess I find the more manipulative, like, the addiction comes, then I feel like that's when that spirit's really getting in there. And what has been, I guess, the craziest thing you've encountered? You gave us a story last on our episode previous. Do you have another? I mean, that was pretty, high level stuff that you were experiencing.
Yeah. Well, I've had several like that. Another one would be like I hinted at, where I had my arm fractured by something unseen that controlled a garage door, and that was at another place in Indiana, oddly enough, a Crossroads State. Get it? I mean, come on. And so it was called Thornhaven Manor, and it was right after it was first available. And the owner asked me if I want to come investigate, and I said sure. So I took a couple guys with me that I used to run around with and investigate, and we did the whole thing, got some pretty good stuff. But he let us in the basement. We were the first ones ever in the basement. It wasn't all the way cleaned out yet, and this thing was full of old Nazi paraphernalia and brochures from way back. And we got done with it. We were getting ghost box responses and EVPs in German too, on top of that, saying Geist for ghost and everything. It was crazy.
Wow.
So when he let us in the garage, he stopped us at the door, and he said, now you guys got to pay attention to this, because this door is broken. It does not stay up by itself. And he had a big metal pipe in it to hold it up. And he says, watch. And he pulled the pipe, and that thing slammed down. And there's an old wooden heavy garage door with a metal handle, So he put it back up, and he said, just, when the guys are done, just let it shut, and then it'll be fine. It'll lock, and nobody will be in there. So nobody could get in there. So we were done. So we come out. Now it's 3 grown men. I'm a pretty big boy. I weigh about 240 and 250. And we pull the pipe out. 2 guys are holding the door up, and it won't shut. And then he showed us twice. I mean, it slammed down. It does not work properly. So we're 3 grown men jerking on this door trying to
Oh,
make it
man.
come down. And so after like 15, 20 minutes, I'm like, oh man, it's 4:30 in the morning. We're going to have to call this guy. He's not going to be happy. And I'm standing there by the door looking up his number on my phone. And all of a sudden that door comes down and smashes my arm. And I drop to my knees. And I mean, I even have a scar from it, right?
Oh, wow.
If you can see it. And it hit me right there. See it?
Oh, man, yeah. Oh, wow.
And my big old golf ball came up on my arm, and it was bleeding a little bit. And I was like, man, that thing just broke my arm. I know it's broke. And then, the door was shut, so we rolled out of there. And I told him the next day what happened. He goes, man, that's crazy. Nothing ever like that's happened. That door always goes down, always. So I go to I'm a veteran, so I go to the VA hospital a couple days later because my arm's still killing me. And sure enough, I had a fractured arm. So can't say 100% it was paranormal, but come on, if you look at all the things.
Yeah, I'd say the
more
and more I get into this, there are fewer and fewer coincidences. Let's just put it that way.
It stayed up for over 20 minutes while we were sitting there trying to decide what we were going to do. And then when I start getting ready to call the guy, it slams down and hits me in the arm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just another one of several I've had over my time doing this stuff. But
and they are different too. You were describing before, like, a lot of times, like the burning, when the scratching, it feels like it's like burning. I felt like they're branding you more than, but it shows up differently than what the sensation is, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, it's just, it's something you can expect to happen the longer and the more you do this stuff. It doesn't mean it will happen, but it can happen.
You should definitely be prepared for it. If you're doing this, whether or not you encounter something like that, you need to be prepared for it.
And when I was younger, when I first started doing all this stuff, I was really, running and gunning. I wanted to go to as many places as I could to try to document evidence of this stuff because I knew it was real and I wanted to show other people it was real,
Right.
And then that's why I started doing the live stuff because I could take people that maybe didn't have that opportunity with me. And I was like I said, probably the second guy to ever do live paranormal streams on YouTube way back. And, people seem to just loved it. And that's really how I made my name publicly. But people didn't know, but I was investigating with big names like Johnny Zaffis, and other people like that back in those days. And he's one of my mentors, and several other ones that are no longer here with us. But it's just, we got to get back to the people that really have a passion for this stuff and really want to present it the real way and the proper way, not just for clickbait and views and garbage, and people that are really doing the work, not just, stealing other people's work and saying it's theirs.
They make me so mad when they do that. Yeah.
Look at this AI pic. It's a vampire. It's a werewolf. No, it's not. It's nothing. There's nothing there, dude.
No, absolutely not.
It's really a shame in a lot of ways, but like I said, working with Christopher Garetano on some really cool upcoming movie projects and documentary style paranormal movies on everything paranormal. So
you cover it all. You cover it all.
Yep.
I didn't get to ask you. Even though I have far more paranormal experience, I came into the UFO thing 2017. But I was born and grew up in the paranormal. Give me a little bit of a take on what you think of. Have you experienced it? I know that you do cover it you guys are covering it coming up. But have you ever experienced the phenomenon yourself?
What, UFOs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, definitely. So like I said, and I don't think I said it on this one, but I grew up on military bases. And I was also in the Air Force. My stepdad was in the Air Force too.
Thank you for your service.
I've seen several things, and a lot of my stuff that happened to me early on really set me on this course. I've seen some things in the sky that I know was not anything we had. numerous times too, and then like I said, the more you go out there and look for this stuff, the odds are you're going to see something. And growing up on military bases, I was familiar with every type of aircraft we had. And then when I was in the Air Force, I was around a lot of top secret stuff like the stealth bombers and fighters when they weren't very well known yet. So, let me see what I can. I'll give you some of my later. So I was also in the Air Force during the Phoenix Lights incident, and I was stationed in Tucson, Arizona. So you can do the math. I can't say too much about that, but that was not from us. I'll just say this, But when I was just first stationed there, a friend of mine, him and his wife had just built a new house out in the desert there, and it was out. And their house was the first one done, so they were the only people out there. All the rest were under construction. Nobody else was living there. So he wanted to have a barbecue, and we all go out there. And I mean, if you've ever been out west and you look in the desert sky at night, it's unreal. You can see everything. It's phenomenal. On a clear night, you can see the Milky Way like it's right on top of you. So we're out there, we're barbecuing, having steaks and everything. And we're drinking a few beers, nothing major. We just got there and everybody's starting to hang out and drink a couple beers and grilling out. And one of the guys turns around and says, "What the F is that?" And we all look, we turn around and there's this ball in the sky, an orb about the size of a Volkswagen that's like maybe a couple thousand feet high. And it's, to be that high, to be that size, it's pretty big. And it was like a pearlish white color.
Oh, wow.
And we're watching this thing. It's not doing nothing. It's just sitting there hovering, and we're all Air Force guys. We're like, what the frick is that? And then it starts descending slowly and it hangs out. It probably descends 1,000 feet and hangs out again for several more minutes. And nobody, back then this was early 90s. So there wasn't, people had cell phones, but not like today with cameras and video and everything. So we're watching this thing, and one guy goes, "F this, I'm out of here." And he boogied, he left. And then a few seconds later, that thing just goes, poof, shoots straight up into space without a noise, not a streak, no fire, no exhaust, gone, And it was about 2 years later when the Phoenix Lights incident happened there.
Wow.
So that's just one of several I've had over the years, and I've seen some other crazy stuff too. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It doesn't seem like you just get to see, like, I mean, I don't know. I've had definitely an array of things, a spectrum of things that I have seen. Cause when you go out and you start to look for it, or you have your routine, I just remember the first craft I came into, measured by MUFON to be 50 foot in diameter, stood 30 feet away. And that sucker wasn't even like 15 feet, came 1 mile and crept over. It was one of the most, I don't run from them now, but then there was nowhere to run because it was like on a thing. I just dropped the camera, and I just remember, and the neighbor was with screaming. I was there taking paranormal pictures, but from that point forward, everything changed.
Yeah, everything. When you have an experience like that, and you just know deep inside that it's not from here, and it comes over everybody that has an experience like that, whether it's a cryptid, haunting, UFO, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. When you have a life-changing experience like that, it's hard to even put any kind of language to it because it's life-changing. And, I've been fortunate enough for whatever reason to have many over the years of different things happen to me. Depending how you look at it, some people say that's unfortunate. Me, I say it's freaking awesome.
It all depends on how you see it.
Show me more.
Yeah. Right.
So,
but it does come with a price. The truth does come with a price.
Yes. Yeah, it does. But it's up to people the more we share those experiences, the more it gets out there, and the more people start saying, well, maybe, hey, wait a minute, maybe there is more to what we know,
And it's safer for the rest of us. It really is.
Sure. And our history has been manipulated. We've been told a lot of lies. A lot of truths have been hidden from us for lack of a better terminology, for money, power, and greed to control us. Okay. In my humble opinion, but you can look at it as the bigger scope. that's the truth and the reality of it. And I did. I was born in West Virginia, right down the road from the famous Flatwoods monster incident in 1952. It was a massive government cover up. And a lot of suppression went on with that. And a good buddy of mine, Frank Frasino, is the number one expert on that case. He spent over 30 years investigating and researching one case. And Stanton Friedman is involved with him.
Oh, yeah.
And I put on that Flatwoods Monster Conference every year to keep that story alive, because a lot of people don't even know about it. It's out there. But Frank he wrote the first book on it, and he was making a lot of waves with it. And then some family stuff got in the way, and he was off the UFO circuit. And then, Stanton was helping him during that time. And Stanton made some profound statements about that book and the government cover up that went on. And we're still keeping it alive today. I had Frank finally come to the conference after like 10 years. He got to come back out, and then we're having him again this year. And so he just wrote a new book on it, his updated version. So I highly recommend that.
Is he on Facebook?
Monster. Yes.
I think I was going to schedule him to come on. Is he doing?
Oh, definitely get him on. Sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you said
definitely. That
Okay.
whole story in that case should have multiple movies and everything else done about it. And it's just hasn't got its due diligence, because the government came in and made all the locals just feel like they were lying and they were making up stuff, and made them feel bad, about sharing their experiences. And Frank spent a lot of time with the families, and the kids that had the experience became good friends with them and was like family to them. So he's the world's foremost authority on that. Nobody has the goods like he does on that case, and I highly recommend that book. It's Flatwoods Monster: From Myth to Reality, right? And it's available on Amazon. I highly recommend that book. If you like UFOs, you'll love this. It's literally, if you read it, it's like a whole new case. It's not out there like it's supposed to be. And that's what we're doing. We're working on getting that case back out there and getting the attention that it deserves, because it's a real, it's as big, if not bigger, than Roswell, and people just don't understand it.
Would you both like to come back on?
Swept under the rug.
Would you both like to come back on together? We'll do a part 2, because I think that'd be great to get both of you together. We could do that. That would be excellent. How fascinating.
Sure.
I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, wow. And I wrote so what I did with I got a book called Real West Virginia UFOs. I talk about, I chronologically dated what I thought were some of the best UFO sightings and experiences going back to the 1800s to modern day in West Virginia, to include ones from the 1800s that I dug out of church records, because it was so rural back then. There was no roads. There was no newspapers in West Virginia. It was very rural and mountainous. And I talk about the Flatwoods Monster case, of course, and then I show how it was just a short little time after that they built what in West Virginia? The Green Bank Observatory.
Wow.
To look for what? Extraterrestrial radio signals, the biggest movable telescope in the world to look for that specific thing. So there's no coincidence in that. It's a government-funded project.
Yes.
Frank Drake and Carl Sagan came up with SETI there. That's where SETI was created, and the whole 9 yards. So a lot of people, no one ever put that together, except I was the first one to talk about that.
Wow.
So check out my book too if you want to know all about West Virginia UFOs, because we have a ton of them. So
that's amazing. Wow, that's amazing. So I mean, it just went full circle. I mean, that's some pretty intense. And the government projects, the black budget projects, how much of
then like when Obama was in, he shut all those projects down, right? So they lost a lot of their government funding. So Yuri Milner, a Russian billionaire, came in and donated millions of dollars to keep that project open. And it's just got re-upped recently. So and my sister's a school teacher, and she takes the kids to that camp every summer. So I have some pretty good inside intel on different things there.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
But how much of it do you think is the government? I mean, because you think you see things And it's like in my experiences, even looking across the cryptid lines, like, and some they're so specific to the territory. If you had to speculate, how much of it do you think is a government project compared to something that's anomalous from the government?
Well, I mean, I think that there's no doubt about it. We have captured craft that we engineered for that technology, because we went literally from prop jobs to the SR-71 overnight. Okay, the fastest jet ever built,
Jim
that we know
Goodall.
about.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
we know about, right? So, and that was back in the 50s and 60s, mind you. So, what do we have now, right? So, where did that tech come from? It doesn't make any sense. We advanced over 100 years, almost literally overnight, and the Germans had it before us. And we know all about the Germans being having the Vril Society. They claim to have been in contact with aliens. And then if you study the whole Admiral Byrd trip down in the Antarctic, he claims they got attacked by these saucer-like craft. So, if you just use due diligence and critical thinking and just common sense, put it all together, there's no doubt about it.
You have to
And
literally go through history again, because the way that I learned it is not the way that it happened. And the more you do
no.
and start investigating it, it really gets good.
Oh, yeah. And it's right there, plain as day. And now you've got all the recent whistleblowers coming out. Come on. I mean, there's most definitely something being covered up, and, a lot more. I mean, they're claiming they have direct knowledge of ETs and biologicals and EBEs and the whole nine
Oh
yards.
yeah.
So,
No, when I talked to
why
Rick
would they?
Doty,
Why would they throw away their career saying that if it wasn't true? Come on,
right.
they'd have
Either that or
nothing
they're
to do.
planned, they're paid actors, and that's where you have to watch out.
Right.
You know,
And yeah, it could always be a Project Bluebeam event or something with that effect.
that part of it sucks. So God, is you stuck in that duality again? It's like you can never know for certain, because we're gonna throw this little thing in. But I talked to Rick Doty, and he's CIA counterintelligence. You have to remember that, but there's always nuggets of truth. And he said there's 7 different kinds. They have different. Some need air, some don't. Some need food, some don't. And so at that time, that's kind of the story I got, that we weren't even looking at. Gets even weirder.
Yeah,
Like if you go
Doty
to
was stationed at the base I grew up on. Go figure, right?
Oh wow.
When he was at Air Force OSI.
Yeah, no way. This world only gets smaller, huh?
Yeah. So, there's a lot to it, but if you just do your due diligence and look at the mathematics that have come out and have proven that there's as many Earth-like planets as there are grains of sand on the beach, the numbers are staggering to the positive that there's probably most likely intelligent life out there.
Oh yeah. So are you a believer? Because I heard you say before about Admiral Byrd. Are you a believer we're under the firmament? Are you a space believer, or that outer space is,
and inner space? I mean, anything's on the table. I won't say either way. I don't know if I believe in hollow Earth or not. It's possible.
I don't think we have any sort of reality, but I do think that we're trapped under something right now.
Possibly,
and I think, I know everything just leans towards it. It doesn't, but then again, that part of the deception is the most powerful. If they're doing that, like the Stanley Kubrick and like the old moon shot, they always do that. It's like, man, you have to disorganize the people. It's the chaos,
Well, there's no doubt about it. He faked moon landings, because I think we did go to the moon at least once, and I think it was so dangerous and so expensive. That's why they created, we were in the middle of the Cold War with the Russians and all that good stuff, so they had to say, oh, we're superior, so they created all that fakeness for that purpose, right? So,
not to mention that, Werner von Braun was your top Nazi scientist, brought back in Operation Paperclip, and they're the ones that had all the challengers that got to the moon. It's like, there definitely could be more motive there.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so I really want to
you can't take away the tens of thousands of regular everyday people that have had life-changing experiences, and it has affected their life to the point that they want answers.
Absolutely.
And that's where we are at today.
Absolutely. And again, I want to thank you so much, and I look forward to this part 2. Would you tell everybody again where they can find you and what, give them a list, because you've written, I mean, like 9 books. Is that
Yeah,
right?
and there's probably 5 more coming out this year, roughly 4 or 5
Wow.
or 6. This depends how fast the process goes, but
And this is like,
you can
you're
find
doing
all.
things that are pioneering this. This isn't like all the rest of the people that are just regurgitating what's already being said.
This is all
He's
my
doing some
personal
real.
stuff. Yeah, this is not, stuff I've done, stuff I've investigated and everything. And you can find all my books on Amazon. www.davespinkspi.com is my website. You can also order personalized copies there. If you want one signed to you, I'll mail one to your house. And if you just email me, I'll tell you how to pay me on PayPal or Venmo, whatever your preference is.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And I really, again, want to thank you so much for agreeing to do this and coming over on here. You're my first official episode on Truth Beyond Disclosure over here at Channel 12 TV Network. And I'll get that down. It's like, when you first start doing stuff, I'm so used to going into the SNX Radio. But it's definitely SNX Radio, but Beyond Truth Disclosure. And our first episode, and it was an absolute wonderful one. So I learned so much from you. I know that all this does come with a risk, and I want to thank you for all your work. And I'm sure you don't get appreciated enough. I know that I don't get
Doesn't
nice.
matter to me. I do it for me and my passion. So,
Well, you're doing it with such integrity and honor. So we appreciate that here. And thank you again for your service. Yes. And we'll be in touch soon.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go ahead. And is there anything you would like to leave the viewers with?
No, just like on the other show, go out and take 15 minutes a day, go out in the woods, go look in the skies. You never know what you'll see. And be good to everybody, be good, having good intent, be a good person.
Absolutely. Be good to everyone. That's a good, especially in today's world, there's definitely be good to one another. So thank you again, Dave. And we'll go ahead and I guess, until we see. Yeah. What an amazing guest. I just wanted to say that it's always the people that are out there and they're pioneering the just a second here. A huge thank you to our guest tonight for paving the way through this. I know there are repercussions for the truth. And the truth is, I was warned when I got into this that the truth is a path that you mostly walk alone. So we will be seeing more, and we have a ton of fun episodes coming up for you on the SNX original to Channel 12 TV network, Truth Beyond Disclosure. I'm Coley, and thank you for taking the journey into the unknown. I'll be seeing you all again soon. Take care.
Take the journey into the unknown with SNX Radio as we delve into the enigmatic world of UFO sightings and extraterrestrial abductions. Join us for conversations with leading experts and individuals who have encountered these otherworldly beings, uncovering secrets about their experiences, contact stories, and the profound implications for humanity. Listen as we reveal the incredible narratives of those who have undergone alien abductions, shedding light on the psychological and spiritual impacts of these encounters. Explore the depths of consciousness and spirituality as we discuss how these experiences may connect us to something greater beyond our understanding.
Temperature drops, the room goes still. Echoes fade in a silent thrill. SNX Radio, the feed is live. Operate Operation Black Mirror, nowhere high. Face in digital haze, coast on the run, eyes locked, screens ablaze. The future has begun. Restitution must have been shift. Something new is watching back. Never come from the moment to drift. Caught on this digital track. Welcome to the watch. The mirror accepts your plea. No resignation, no turning back. Just what you want to see. Black mirror, it holds the key to futures yet untold. Every pixel of prophecy, a story to unfold. Ambient sins begin to swell. Trapping fuse beat drops low. Hyperpop pulses cast its spell. A data stream starts to flow. In the glow of the screen, a new face appears. A shadow where you used to be. Confronting your deepest digital fears for all the world to see. Welcome to the watch. The mirror accepts your plea. No resignation, no turning back. Just what you want to see. Black mirror, it holds the key to futures yet untold. Every pixel of prophecy, a story to unfold. From the static hum to the neon gleam, a new reality takes flight. Caught in a hyper-electronic dream, battling shadows in the digital night. The watch is wound, the game is set. No escape from the endless gaze. Regrets forgotten, what you can't get lost in these cyber mazes. Welcome to the watch. The mirror accepts your plea. No resignation, no turning back. Just what you want to see. Black mirror, it holds the key to futures yet untold. Every pixel of prophecy, a story to unfold. No turning back now. Mirrors one, your application accepted. Journey's begun. SNX Radio. Operation Black Mirror's ray, lost in the reflection again and again.
SNX Radio invites you to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos with us as we dive into UFOs, cryptids, and everything otherworldly. As we navigate the night, we investigate the unknowns that spark our curiosity and challenge our understanding of reality.